Okay? No dad jokes allowed during this episode.
If you're something phobic, just say it.
I'm Lacuna.
Dan.
And this is the Skating Brewery. Welcome to our morning session where we make conversation covering the latest figure skating news while drinking a nice glass of orange juice. I think is it orange juice today?
Yeah, because we had apple last week, remember? For that whiskey mood per your request.
Ah, yes, right. Remember to also make sure to tune in for our nightly session that'll be up later this Sunday for our drunken commentary on all of the men's gold medalist shorts at Worlds starting from 1998 to 2019. It will be an experience, and if you're a Jeongguk fan, you're gonna have plenty to see.
And as always, please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you might be listening to us with. It really helps with getting a wider reach across audiences, and we'd love to keep the conversation over skating going.
I think it's time we get the ball rolling on this one. This week we have quite a few topics to cover. Actually, I was supposed to have an outline for this episode done a few nights ago, but then someone decided to drop a surprise album, and I spent most of my week crying. So it's great. We're having a fun time.
Honestly, I don't think you'll ever recover from that.
Thanks. That sounds so supportive. Yes, but if you haven't listened to it, please go stream I Think I Love You. And stream it everywhere and anywhere, please. I can't be suffering through this alone. We actually have quite a few things to cover this episode, so I should really move on. There was something we were gonna originally start with, but then we woke up this morning and, well...
Better pay itself.
Yeah.
People are losing it because allegedly Jeongguk is in Busan. Which, by the way, what the fuck? Why? Where did that even come from?
I think, and don't take my word for this, I don't want to get canceled or dragged. I just heard it through the grapevine, but what ended up happening was that some Korean fans spotted him arriving at the train station in Busan, and then posted a photo of him online. Or at least that's what most of the people online are saying. But it seems a little odd for him to be traveling so close to the final, I think, right?
And especially considering the awful snowstorm in Seoul right now,
Mm-hmm.
I think some fans were worried that if it escalates, he might not be able to get back to the city at all. Kind of worrying, considering we're in the middle of the season.
I don't know. I heard that transport back to the city is already closed, though. That's why I figured it turned into such a big deal in the first place. Besides the fact that Jimin is also there, which is a whole other can of worms that we have yet to open. That's a discussion.
Can we talk about it, though?
Mm.
It's a skater under Agapov taking a break. Jimin resting. Did I wake up in the good timeline?
Oh, she's not that bad.
Right.
She's not. Look, I feel like Miss Agapov, I don't agree with all of her coaching methods, alright, but I'm also not a world-renowned figure skater, so I feel like I don't have the credentials to judge her or what she does. But I also really don't think Jimin would have stayed so long with her if he felt the Levitt team wasn't standing behind him. I think Jimin is a grown man. He knows what he's doing. And the statement they put out says it all. I'll read it out for those of you who haven't seen it. They basically said, we're confident in his skills and capabilities this season, and feel the support of his family alongside the fans will only positively impact his result at the Grand Prix finals. So I know a couple of people were kind of like, why would you give your skater a break literally like a week before the Grand Prix final? But I think for Jimin, it's a good move. We know that he works his ass off for everything, so I think having a break is a good mental breather for him, and I'm sure his team thinks the same.
Honestly, I'm just glad that he can spend some time with his family. Because with him training in Moscow and all, he must have missed them a lot. It's always hard to be away from your family for a long period of time. And from what we've seen, he seems to be very close with his parents. So let's just hope that they can make the most out of his break. Honestly, still cry thinking about him dedicating his Olympic medals. Not talk about it. But
let's not talk about
it.
So, oh no.
Just hope that they can make the most out of his break.
I think this will be really good for him. I just find it a tiny bit funny how Jeongguk and Jimin seem to keep getting stuck in the same city together. I mean, first we have Grenoble, which admittedly is more of a rumor than anything else, but for the sake of consistency, we're gonna go with it. And then we get Moscow, Jimin's home city, and where Jungkook was supposedly present during the men's free event at the Rostam Cup in the audience. Which, I mean, you really can't make this stuff up anymore.
And weren't they spotted skating together then too? I think there was this one photo of a kid's foot that was going around like 2 weeks ago or something that was signed by Jeongguk.
No, I know what you mean.
Look at it. A little, no.
If you know. This isn't to sound like shippers, by the way, not to like diss on any Jikookers we might have listening. It could be very likely that Jungkook's really only trying to scope the guy out, which makes the most sense objectively, and I think that's what most people believe as well. I really can't imagine I'd take too kindly to someone who'd managed to replace me in like 2 years if I were him, so I don't know.
But where's the fun in that, though? No, but really, these are all speculations, and the only thing we know for sure is that Jeongguk and Jimin staying in the same city is a surprise. Yet another hot topic amongst the fans.
When aren't they, though? I feel like this entire season so far, it's just been Jimin and Jungkook making headlines. I mean, you see a little bit from pairs. I know I've seen Namjoon and Sumin's names a couple of times, but it's really it really just turned into like a Jimin and Jungkook sport. Like,
yeah, but even then, it's been a week, so imagine how it's been.
Oh, it's only Wednesday. We still got a few days to go. I think we might be dissing a little bit too much on the Jungkook fans. I know that we have a Jimin enthusiast here, but I don't know. It's not news that I'm not keen on harping into fan spaces, particularly with Jungkook and Jimin's, because their fans are diehard kind of people. But I get the worry that some of the fans seem to have over Jungkook. I mean, he's only really been back for what, like 3-4 months?
Months, yeah.
And even if we all want to believe that he's back to his prime, even if most of us want to believe that he's back to his prime, there's no denying how shaky most of his landings have been as of late. And don't get me wrong, he's still remarkable and well in a international competitive league, but
yeah.
they're strained behind every one of his movements out on the ice now. Like it's almost as if he's thinking through the entire program rather than just skating, which isn't what we're used to seeing from him. I feel like we all came to know him as the type of performer, not just athlete, but the type of performer who really loses himself in his music, and that's what made him stand out initially for a lot of people. Um, and I don't know. I mean, the fact that the Lutz, which is his jump, hasn't even made an appearance once, like this far into this. I just think him being stuck in a city without a place to train right now is a sure recipe for disaster, and I feel like his team, if they're not already, they should be nervous. Because I know I would be. I know I am.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean, but at the same time, I think that we're not even gonna get to see the Lots this season. Because,
Oh, don't say that. Don't-
oh, I'm right. I'm right. Because his team has been very careful and private with the way they've been handling his injury. So I think it's probably a conscious decision to assure that Jeongguk is healing properly in the season. Because I know we just talk about it like it's another jump, but I don't think it's just another jump for him. It almost cost him his entire career. So you're not even talking about his physical capabilities anymore, whether he's in shape or not to jump, but rather how mentally prepared he feels to go at it again. Himself in the same place that almost made him lose everything that he's been working so hard for during almost his entire life.
Like you said, I think obviously the Lutz is it holds a lot of implications for him, and I hope he gets to a space where he can jump it and feel comfortable with it. But I know that there's a lot of gravity that comes with either being able to land it or not. And also how that jump itself could affect his ankle, because I mean it's healed as from what we know, but I don't know. The sport is very, very dangerous, guys. Be safe. But yeah, I don't know. With the 2 years that he spent out of the game, what most of us were hoping we'd get back from him, it was like a bit of the skater that he used to be. Like, I think we were all sort of hoping we'd have this sort of revenge slash redemption arc moment from him during the season as his like first time back, right? But his way of skating right now seems to be the new norm for him. Which, again, I feel like I have to say this a million times because we're not trying to dish on Jungkook as a skater. I think technically and jump wise, he's a very good athlete. He is.
He is.
It's just I don't know. There's just something not Jungkook about him anymore. It's like we have pre injury Jungkook and then we have post injury Jungkook, and those are very different skaters that we've seen. And I know we'll always call and know him as the Ice Prince, like that's his title. But the Wild Part nickname pitched earlier this season is honestly starting to check out a bit. I mean, you get a really killer skate at Skate Canada, and then suddenly, just a week ago, you see him struggling and like rushing through all of his programs just to get them over with in Osaka. And, they still held out pretty well, and he did get pretty good scores because it's Jungkook. But I don't know. Like he has different standards for himself, and like the public has different standards with him for him. Um, and you can just tell. You can tell something's wrong. I don't even want to talk about like like how exhausted he looked at the press conference that they had afterwards. So I don't
Don't
know.
bring that up. That's
Yeah.
painful even for me.
He looked good because it's Jungkook, but the man was tired and the man wanted to go home, and I kind of wanted him to go home too. So.
Yeah, but like that's going back to what I was saying. Mentally,
Mhm.
must have been traumatizing for him, and it's
Mhm.
just back from a 2-year break, as you said. Like, and he's still considerably ahead of most skaters. Like, not my favorite, but realistically, the only person standing in his way is Jimin.
Yeah.
There's no one else that can hit him, and that to be in your first season after such a big injury is really remarkable. And like people have very high expectations of him because we've seen what he's capable of before. Because he got that Ice Prince nickname or
Mhm.
something, right?
Uh-huh.
But I don't think it's fair to expect that same performance of him when he's clearly not the same person mentally that he was injury. So obviously he's not going to be the same athlete that he was, and it's fair because um he's still recovering. He's not the same person that he was, and he left sport 2 years ago, and he went through 2 entire seasons of we didn't get anything but radio silence, then came back and he's not Taylor Swift doing Reputation. He's not, and we need to start thinking that he's not going to make this big comeback and keep all the gold medals because he's still very much recovering. He deserves the right to not be fake upon arrival. I don't think it's a bad thing that he's struggling.
Yeah, we've seen him a lot. I think this is why Jikookers get a little bit high off of their theories, but we've seen him a lot going to Namjoon and Suman's events, which we know are close friends of his from what we've seen over the years. Um, their events just so happen to coincide with Jimin's. Whether that's fortunate or not, we don't really we don't really know. But I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's good that he's traveling so long, as he's still training, and his team feels that he's in a place where he'll have a good skate. Because I'm not gonna lie, it's a little concerning. It's a little unconventional. You don't see skaters travel this much throughout the season for events that aren't their own. So it's a bit of an unconventional approach, but good for them.
I'm sure it's good for his mental health.
Yeah.
Like, he's surrounded by his friends, and like even if he's not competing, he's still seeing skaters that he'll potentially face the final. For example, Jimin, if rumors are true. Training is not just about doing 5,000 jumps a day. It's also
Yeah.
about learning and like not learning, but it's also about serving your enemies.
Mm-hmm.
That sounded a little too harsh. They're not enemies, but rivals.
Honestly, this is how people on Twitter like are talking. It's very much intense. I don't understand why. Let's just very quickly, where the fuck did the rivalry thing come from? Because Jimin and Jungkook haven't even interacted once outside of what we've seen so far this season, which is very little in and of itself already, because what we do see from them this season are crumbs from people posting things of seeing them together. Because none of their events have coincided yet. The first time we are actually seeing them compete with one another is the final coming up this next week.
There was this one interview where Min said something about being excited to compete against Jeongguk post injury, and then Jeongguk replied that he should be careful of what he hopes for, which was a little odd in my opinion.
I think.
Why are you being so heated?
Okay, with the way the interviewer, these interviews that we're talking about, by the way, were before this season officially started. I think Jimin was asked this question about like how he feels about Jeongguk being back post one of his like skating shows that he did during the off season, and Jeongguk was asked this question after one of his one of the mandatory competitions he had to do in order to like get his points up so that he could qualify for the pre-series events or whatever. Very fun technical skating talk. Anyways, that's the season. Those are the interviews we're talking about. With the way the interviewer posed the question to Jeongguk, I really don't see. I understand why he would have like thought it was said in like a negative light, because Girly was really like, Jimin is bored with the sport and he's excited to see how you stop making it boring because he's gonna be you. I don't know. It just had a weird connotation to the way she said it. Like, you could tell that she was trying to make Jimin sound like condescending. And I'm sure Jeongguk doesn't spend his time. I'm sure Jikook doesn't spend his time watching like a million Jimin interviews, so I get it, I understand. But even after those interviews happened, they had the South Korean figure skating press conference or whatever, and they were there and they were nice to each other and everything was fine. There was like some shady question. There was some shady question towards the end, but other than that, it was okay. And in years prior, they've never even interacted. They've like had maybe like 2 seasons together after Jimin joined seniors, because Jungkook joined seniors, because Jimin did join seniors way before Jungkook did. But they never talked to each other or interacted, and nobody ever like said, well, there were a couple of people who were saying that Jimin was like Jungkook's underdog, but this shit didn't really ramp up until Jimin got gold, and then it got announced that Jungkook was coming back. So I don't understand why we're all over here pretending like there's some stupid like origin story, and like they have history and they known each other. I've seen people saying that they like used to be childhood best friends and then like something happened, and it's like, yeah.
Okay, let's take it down a notch and get back to the important topic, shall we?
Okay.
This is obviously men again.
We were just talking. We literally just mentioned his name.
Okay, and this is a Jimin podcast, like, with it. Anyway, we can all agree that he'll take gold at the final, right? Right.
I don't agree with that take. I think that's wrong.
You're just homophobic, admit it.
I am not homophobic, you're just wrong. No, but seriously, hear me out. Objectively, will Jimin probably place gold at the Grand Prix? Yeah, but in my little heart, I don't think he will. And here's why. We've spent this entire season talking about like just Jimin and Jungkook. We forget that there's other very good competitors coming up this season. I know we don't have Taehyung this season, but we do have Shogawara, which is Jimin's friend. We have one of the other skaters in Agapov's team, whose name is slipping from me right now. Stefan, I think. I'm not sure. We have one from Spain. We have good people who I think will put up a fight for that gold medal. But but
As we said, do you think that there's anyone that can come close to what Jimin and Jeongguk are doing? Like, there's the scores, the artistry behind their programs. It just, for a gold, it's pretty hard to consider anyone else.
I mean, even if we weren't looking at like competitors, just Jimin alone, his scores haven't been as high as we've gotten used to seeing from him. And I think with this new coaching situation going on with Jimin, especially after Siwon's passing, which, by the way, we had an episode about this a few months back when it happened, because it did happen at the beginning of the year. We know that Jimin and Siwon were pretty close, at least from what we could see, and the way that Jimin talked about him and Siwon talked about Jimin. So I just feel like Jimin's bound to be a bit off his rocker this season, because grieving isn't something that just goes away in a matter of months. And I know he took, I know he took that half of the 2019-20 season off after it happened to like properly mourn, and that he's been doing well now so far from what we've seen, but his scores just haven't been as high as we've previously seen from him. And with Jeongguk being within 5 points of him, despite the 2-year hiatus and the injury that he has, I would definitely take note of that. And I would be nervous if I were Agapov or Sokjin, because I don't know.
But Jimin has more for A though.
But those are just rumors. Like, nobody's even said that he's landed it. People say that he's attempting it. So
But if there's anyone right now that could land a 4A, it's Jimin. Like, there's no one else for the job. Literally. I don't think it's crazy to think that he might jump it at the final. We're talking about the same man that changes concepts every season. He has more cards up his sleeve than we can even imagine. So I don't know. Going against Mr. Wildcard, it's not easy to think that he's gonna take the gold come the final.
I know we're using wild card in a derogatory form, but it's such a sexy nickname. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, that was something it needed to be said. That needed to be said, actually. I feel like we all know that at the very least, Jimin and Jikook will be on that podium. As to who gets that gold is up to just literally circumstance in the day and how each of them are skating or feeling or whatever in that moment. I do want to preface that I know we just like dished about the rivalry and everything, but I really do think it's fun to have like, oh, like these two skaters are super good and they're like going head to head or whatever. I think it can be really, really fun, right? To get that hype and momentum going for the season. But we do have to acknowledge that these are people and they have different goals and different ambitions for what they're doing and what they want to achieve. For me, it seems like Jimin is really focused on having a good season and getting that momentum going for next season, which will qualify him for the Olympics again. And I think Jeongguk is just trying to have a good return. So it's just very different endpoints that they want to be at, and for them, for people to be like constantly comparing them just doesn't make sense. And at the end of the day, I feel like we don't acknowledge the fact that the two of them seem to be facing the exact same amount of pressure. Like, not the exact same amount. They're both acquainted with the feeling of being in the public's eye and being judged and a ton of pressure over them. So I think they're just a lot more alike than we give them credit for. And they would probably be really good friends if given the chance. So just something to keep in mind.
Are already.
They probably are,
Yeah.
honestly, with the way they've like been seeing each other.
I, for one, I'm curious to see if Agapov herself will attend this time. Because the hype around Jimin and Jeongguk competing against each other is way too high for her to miss such an event. But then again, it's Agapov we're talking about, so...
I actually don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are hoping that she will attend, and I wouldn't mind her going, but I also just feel like people give her a lot of shit for not attending the places and not enough shit about her actual like coaching methods. Like if she doesn't go to her skaters, if she doesn't go to her skaters events, I don't care, because for one, it's nice to have a coach there, but like also I feel like her skaters are professional enough and they trust her enough to like not be so codependent on her presence there. And Jimin is at a point where he could be going to all of these events alone and he'd be completely fine. And also, Jin is there, and Siwon has always been there before. I just don't see why people want her to be there. Like, it wouldn't really make a difference in my book, honestly. And with the way she left the sport following her injury post 1985, and how traumatizing that was for her, I honestly think she's valid in not wanting to like step any rink that's not her own or like owned by her, has her name on the ice. So I don't know.
You're right. I get what you mean. At the same time, it really sucks because it's a very explicit way of showing your support for your skaters, and Jimin has given her everything. He's given her a gold medal at the Olympics. It's not just successful, he's the eat boy of his country. And she's just gone. It's like she's not even a real person. We collectively hallucinate Agapov. What's going on? I swear. Also, can we take a moment to appreciate Seokjin as a coach? Because damn.
Because damn, me too, bro.
Like for real, he's just okay.
Yes, I think. Yeah, Seokjin, I agree. Also, I don't know, the Agapov team, or as I call them, starting right now, the Agapov quad, because they don't have a name and that's ridiculous.
It's homophobic.
It's homophobic, actually, yes. The Agapov quad, their official name, pitched by moi, is really out here thriving. We see Gacha collecting her bag of gold medals at her pre-series events so far, which honestly, good for her. She's been having a really good run these past 2 seasons. I know that last season she got silver at Russian Nationals, and then placed at the podium for Worlds or for Continents, one of the two. So we'd love to see that for her. And with Seokjin coaching and following in Siwon's footsteps, I think he's done a remarkable job. And you can tell, you can tell that Jimin works very, very well with him. So I'm just very pleased that, on top of being friends, they seem to have a really good Skater to coach communication line. And just Hiromin being together again, dude. Like, I am so pleased that they both have like retro theme-esque programs and themes this season. Although, admittedly, I was not expecting the Spanish turn that Jimin took with his. Um, Super fun though. I love that for him. Thank you very much. I don't know. They all just have this sort of untouchable energy that they have coming out of them this season. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. My brain
Yes.
stopped working. It was like Jimin. Uh,
I feel like we're sort of like sleeping.
we're get, we're getting delirious. This is the drunken commentary. Anyways, you make me sound like such a Jungkooker, and I'm really just not trying to get our podcast canceled.
Sorry, I was gonna make a really bad joke.
What's joke?
This is our work podcast, and I was like, I mean, yes, this is a park gaming podcast.
We're not friends anymore. I'm ending the podcast right now.
A little controversy has never hurt anybody, anyways.
It hurt. It hurt. It hurt the guy who put out the article about hate and regret.
Listen.
No.
We're not going there. This is a skating podcast. Not a music podcast.
No more. We're done. This is how it ends. No more Jungkook anti-behavior for the rest of this, please. We're done. We'll end it here. We'll end it here before you get us taken off air and we lose all of our sponsors and our fans and support. See you later.
Thank you everyone for tuning in for yet another chaotic episode of The Skating Brewery. And don't forget to tune in for our drunken commentary coming this Sunday. It will be even more chaotic. See you soon!